Welcome back to BNet Apiary. Today we're going to discuss how to move a nuke. Right here, first we gotta block the entrance of the nuke. What I'm doing is pretty much taping the sides of the lid. This nuke is not a one piece, it's a separate piece, a lid, the box, and then the bottom board. So I tried to move it once before, didn't work well. That's why you see the racket strapped, tying everything together. So now what I'm doing is taping the edge of the lid all the way around to make sure that it's covered up neatly, to make sure the bees can't escape through any of those cracks or anything like that. The best is do it during dusk, almost dark. Majority of the bees are already in the hive, and you're able to catch majority of the bees when you do it when it gets dark. Another thing to mention is you don't want to block everything off good. Like, for example, what I'm doing here is I'm leaving a small entrance open. I'm in South Florida. It's very hot. I don't want to block the bees off all night long and they suffocate and die, and I lost bees. So you still gotta leave it open. So pretty much what I did is I left that one area open. I taped everything else up best as I could, and then like 5 o'clock, an hour before sunrise, which would have been 5 o'clock, I went out there and blocked the actual entrance off. So then that means then I moved them, first thing in the morning. So it's only been a few hours. Right now, I tried to move them once before, and I learned a lot. Um, I learned to tape the edges off because there was bees coming out and all that. So I had a bee net, out available. So pretty much what I'm doing here is setting this up, putting the box in the net, and then I'm going to leave it open until at 5 o'clock when I move everything, block everything off, and then we can move forward from there. Pretty much when you use the net, you gotta make sure that the entrance is not really blocked. Right now, I pretty much move the bee. You can see them; they're not that happy, and I make sure the net can close all the way. And then I had to actually go get my smoker because they were getting real mad. And then from here, you can see I make sure that net closed all the way around. It fit good. Make sure there was nothing under the bottom. So when I picked it up, I wasn't in no, surprise. And then I left it open. I try to open the net up as much as I can, to allow the bees to go in. After that, you should secure them securely in the vehicle that you want to transport them. I put them in my truck, so I use a strap from one end to another, hold them directly tight to the bed. And if you can see here, I didn't tape them up good enough. They escaped. So this is another reason why I had the net to keep myself, a fail safe. Here, we're pretty much taking the net off with angry bees and moving them into a 10 frame box. And when I'm moving them, I like to try to keep it the same layout as what's in the nuke now. So that means, the brood stays together, the honey goes on the outside, so on and so forth. That would keep them, happy, and everything goes well. Um, took them off into the box. And as I'm doing this, the frames I take out, I'm looking for the queen because I want to make sure that she's in the new hive. Because if she's not, the bees won't go into the new hive. They would just smell her in the old nuke. And I want to make sure she was in there. I also don't not want to damage her by, dumping bees in. She gets hurt. And then, we have some problems. I just bought this a queen. We cleaned this hive, a nuke, a week ago. So for me to have her damaged and hurt and not laying good is really going to be upsetting for me. So now, like I said, I'm checking the frame out, making sure I can find the queen. She's on that frame or not. And I'm just going to start inserting the frames, as I take them out of the nuke. What I like to do sometimes is since it's a nuke and they felt, jammed up and everything in the nuke, to make them feel like it's bigger, I usually put every other frame in there. So for example, the two last frames, outside frames, I would put them on the outside and put a blank frame in between. So it'd be like drawn out frame, blank frame, drawn out frame. So that gives them so it makes them feel like it's not jammed up and not in a nuke no more. They got bigger room. So if they had the urge to swarm or feel like they needed to swarm, doing that would make it for them feel that it's bigger and that they don't need to swarm. So that's why I like to do that trick when putting nukes in. You don't have to do that, but I like to do that. It just makes them feel like they're not jammed up anymore in the nuke, and there's more room for them to grow. As you do this, the bees will be flying around and very aggravated, mad. So when you do this, you just gotta be calm, smoke them a little bit. Best practice is when you move bees to the nuke, make sure you have bees um, like fanning their butts are up in the air, fanning the entrance, so that lets the other bees know in the area flying around that hey, this is on your home, this is the entrance. So that's where when you see that, that's good news that they're letting everyone know like hey, come back over here. This is where home. So that's another thing you should be looking for in moving a nuke into a 10 frame hive. And then what I also like to do when I do this is check for the queen once again. So I make sure she's in there. I see her on the frame. If I don't see her on the frame, I'll wait until the bees are relaxed and I'll come back and look. I also like to look a couple hours later, like towards the end of the day, to see what is going on. If they're still there, if they're flying around still, and everything like that. So I like to come back later in the day to make sure everything is good. I do want to apologize that the camera, I didn't put it out far enough and it was blocking a lot of the frame. I do apologize that. Right there, I was looking for to see the queen was in the box. There's still a bunch of bees in the box and everything like that. So pretty much what I do is take the box and I dump them in. Usually you can do it two ways. You can usually spray a water bottle and spray them down so they don't fly and then dump them. But it doesn't really matter. I just dump them in there, make sure they're good. And yeah, please, if you like this, please like, comment, subscribe, and join me for another video. Thank you so much.